This is my next video on wet casting leather. The previous one that I did was for a pliers pouch, which is this mould here, and I thought I would highlight a few of the little improvements that I've done for the next pouch. That's the pliers pouch mould here, and a couple of little things that I found that could make it a bit better is that when I go to put it in the mould, you see these legs fall down, and that becomes a little bit of a problem when you're putting it in the press, just making sure that you don't cramp down with them in the wrong place. So to make it a little bit safer, I've made some changes to this model. Now the other change that I made, as I said, with these falling down the way they are, and that is that I've made a plate go across the bottom here, the whole bottom, and that allows them to only fall down that far, so you don't have to worry about when you're putting in the press that one of the feet could be hanging down. So that's just the other small improvement in there. Second problem that I found a little bit was that when you do the mould with this, and it's been done, when this is clamped up, and if you're wanting to change it fairly regularly, after a couple of hours, it's then I needed to be able to get in to pry these apart. It clamps together fairly tightly, and I found it hard to get them off sometimes, so I changed this shape over to that shape, if you can see that, Mary, so that it was easier to be able to open and close them like that. So that's another little change that's been made. Now the customer, Ron, his old way of doing this, which he would like to be able to do quicker than previous, was involved putting a piece of leather over a wooden mould like that and going around with the stapler, stapling the leather in position, and then he'd have to wait for a reasonable bit of time to be able to take the staples out and shape it up and be able to use it. You see in this one, I think that's supposed to go that way, you have to get this shape in there. Now one of the things I'm doing here at the moment is explaining to Ron a little bit further, because this shape can change from one article use to another article use, and I don't know for sure. Most of the time it indicates that he's coming across on an angle there or there. And what I've done here is the first wet cast of this one, of the mould, and what you would do there is work out where you want the shape to come, cut it through and glue that down to the mould. I'll just open it up so it's clearer to see. That shows this part of the mould here. If that's cut across here, you would glue that down onto the mould, and then instead of putting down a leather pattern that's shaped like that, which I've done in this case, it would have the shape already done to however he wants it. The way it works is that this goes in here, gets nestled, well not this, a piece of leather, wet leather like that, goes in flat like that, cut out to that shape approximately, and then put this in. You put it, make sure it's in the locators, and then you bring a press down to put even pressure on there. I don't really think I'd want to use a clicker press with one bang hit on it. I don't think that would give enough time for the leather to go into shape very well. It may work, but I think you stand the risk of destroying things if it goes slightly wrong. So you're better off with a press where you can press down, ideally evenly across the surface, I found the cowboy press is not too bad that I used out there when I did this mould. So that gets pressed down into place there. If it adds a piece of leather in there, right, be down in there. Once it's in the press, then, and pressed all the way down, then you can click in the parts and put it aside. Now, a couple of warnings that I'm pointing out here is that this is very similar to timber in a lot of ways, but also it's formed and printed with heat. The heat melts the plastic and puts it into position, and if you go applying much heat to it, you'll deform the shape quite easily. So you don't be tempted to get a heat gun or anything like that and play it over the top to try and make it dry too quickly. It wouldn't be any good in there to do that. After an hour or two, generally, you would be able to take the thing apart, and you could let it sit like that for some time if you just wanted to keep drying off, and use another one of these to keep the ball rolling, do another shape and keep going. Or the other part, if you really want to hurry it up, is take it right out of the plastic altogether, and it'll still have a certain amount of shape. You'll be able to apply a little bit of heat to it if you want to do that. Most of the time I try and allow it to sit in the mould for at least a couple of hours, then you can take it out and let it dry. I think that's covered what I wanted to cover here. As far as that part of it goes, as you see, the shifter works in there well. It's just got to be shaped out there. One of the reasons for this type of mould is to be able to do it more quickly and easily than stapling, as well as get a good clean defined line on it when you do the mould. I think that's about it for